Hello, friends. It is common that the children of wealthy parents do not bother to see humans in those around them. They consider themselves to be the center of the universe, so they treat their loved ones the same way, and only a rare chance can fix that. Raymond, a wealthy London businessman, came to the province on business. His beloved and only daughter, Sabila, had asked to come with him. While he was busy at the factory sorting out paperwork, his daughter visited local sites and just hung around the stores. Her father didn't deny her anything. Sometimes he realized that he was spoiling his daughter, but he couldn't help it. By the end of the day, they met at a café on the waterfront, where Raymond was going to have a hearty meal, and the girl was going to brag to her father about her new luxurious summer suit. The man was already sitting at a table when he saw his daughter approaching. She was gorgeous in his eyes. Suddenly, his admiration for his daughter was interrupted by her screaming. "Can't you see where you're going, bastard?" Raymond flinched as if he'd been slapped in the face and started listening. It turned out that a local waitress with a tray had lightly bumped Sabila as she passed, and his daughter was afraid the waitress would stain her new suit. But nothing happened, the father thought, looking at his daughter in shock. She continued to say something else, glaring angrily at the waitress. When the waitress timidly tried to answer, Sabila pushed her so hard that 2 cups of coffee almost fell from the tray. By some miracle, she managed to hold the cups in place. God, what happened to my girl? Her father thought, and waved her off. When she saw her father, the gorgeous blonde smiled and quickly walked over to the table. She began praising her new purchase in every way and twirled in front of her father right on the cafe terrace. He smiled and praised the costume and was pleased with his little girl. Finally, she calmed down and sat down at the table. Her father asked if it was time to go to some serious place, like a university, in such a luxurious suit, since some profession had to be acquired anyway. "But why, Daddy? I don't want to study at all. Now I have you and Mom, and then I'll have a husband to take care of me." "What if something happens to us?" "Well, then I'll be the only heiress to a great wealth, and I won't have to work anyway." His daughter's answer suddenly struck a chord with his heart. She had spoken so calmly about their possible death. It was so bitter. Perhaps there was something about her I'd missed, Raymond thought uneasily. His thoughts were interrupted by the voice of a waitress who came up to accept the order. It was the same girl with whom his daughter had quarreled. He opened his mouth to order, and at that moment, Sabila recognized the waitress. She jumped up from her chair and yelled throughout the cafe, "Is it you again, you clumsy elephant? Get out of here and find a normal waitress." Sabila pushed the waitress until she left. About 3 minutes later, a young waiter came up, and the girl at the table flirtatiously placed her order. She did not notice at all that her father had been silent during the entire lunch. She talked nonstop, apparently satisfied with herself. When the cups were put away, her father paid for lunch. Sabila was about to leave the table. Suddenly, she heard a knock on the table and a harsh shout. "Sit down!" Her father looked at her with a stern and upset look. It was so unexpected that she sat down quietly. Her father spoke in a muffled but harsh voice. "I don't like the way you treat people. I don't like the way you treat other people's lives." "But Dad, who am I treating badly?" "At least that poor girl who works as a waitress." "But that's just a waitress." "It's a human with feelings and emotions." "What kind of a human being is that? Humans work in completely different places." The man waited a moment and then spoke, as if he was about to throw himself into a deep end. "I have made a decision. You do not understand the value of money. So from tomorrow, you will take a job in this cafe, and you will stay here for 3 months until you understand that people who earn their money must be respected." Sabila was completely shocked for a few seconds, then told her father that there was no way in the world she was going to do that. He answered, looking calmly into her eyes, "If you don't do this, I'll block all your cards, take away your car forever, and move you to a rented place somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Not only that, but tomorrow I will bequeath my inheritance to a charitable foundation and ask your mother to support me. Then you'll be a beggar for life." Her father's calm tone so frightened Sabila that she only silently nodded affirmatively. The girl suddenly realized that she could lose her material possessions instantly. "Okay, somehow I will manage to survive for 3 months," she thought. "Very well," smiled her father, "and to make sure you don't change your mind, I'll have someone keep an eye on you to see if you go to work. By the way, I'll reduce the amount on the card to just what you need for food, so be careful with the money." But Raymond could not leave his daughter in rented accommodation, and to make his daughter understand that everything was really serious, he bought her an apartment, but it was small, and he furnished it very modestly. When her father left for London, the terrible days of work started. For the first week, Sabila crawled, half dead from exhaustion, to her apartment. Then it got a little easier. The worst thing was that the wealthier customers always talked down to her, trying to humiliate her whenever possible. But the waitress who had almost bumped into her in the café was a surprisingly kind and helpful girl, and after just a couple of days, she started helping the new waitress in every way, even though she recognized her as the awful girl who had once insulted her. Rin thought that circumstances could be different, and getting used to a new job was so hard. One day, Sabila found a crying coworker in the back room. She had just been yelled at by a young man who was ordering lunch for his girlfriend, and she laughed mockingly nearby. "But Rin, why do you really step on people's toes so often?" "I just can't see very well. I need surgery. I've been working for 2 years now, but I don't have the required amount yet. And the price goes up every year, and my vision gets worse and worse. But I have a son and a mother. What will happen to them if I go blind?" Sabila asked how much the surgery would cost. When she heard about the amount, she was shocked that a person had been saving up for so long. She had spent about that much in 3 days. She had never felt so bad in her life. They agreed with Rin that she would prepare the orders in the kitchen and Sabila would take them to the customers. By the end of her 3rd month on the job, she was shocked again. Rin happily announced that she had found another job and that now her savings would go faster. "But how will you manage to work? After the cafe, you feel terribly tired." "That's okay. It's a night job. Perhaps I can get 3 or 4 hours of sleep, and that's enough for me." Sabila was deep in thought. Her father was supposed to arrive tomorrow, and she knew what she was going to tell him. By noon, the father she hadn't seen in so long arrived. "God, how I missed my parents," Sabila thought, and tears came to her eyes. The girl hugged her father tightly, and they sat down at the table. She told her father how much she had learned during those 3 months. "You know, Daddy, I'm going back to university. I want to be a successful person like you and Mom, and for that I have to study. And I also have a huge favor to ask you." "What favor?" The father was very afraid that his daughter would stay the same and ask for money again. It was really a request for money, but it was one that made her father's heart ache with joy. Sabila was asking to help someone else, and it was the first time in her life. Raymond assured his daughter that they would definitely help her colleague with the surgery. "And also, Dad, if we can, let's give our little apartment here to this woman. She lives with her son and mother in a small room." "Of course, daughter. We'll give the apartment to this woman to help and commemorate your days together." That same day, the father took the daughter home. When she humiliated the waitress, he did a very unexpected thing for himself, leaving her in difficult circumstances. But the man did not regret it one bit. Their family had an empty, almost soulless child, and now a worthy daughter of her father, strong in spirit and good in heart, was walking by his side. Friends, that's all for now. Be sure to share this video with your friends and family, and see you soon.